anyone remembers the 4 real problems that every living entity has to go through?
The core problem problem was the birth, death, illness, and old age.
Mm-hmm. And what are the threefold miseries? Traitap.
That was the one given by other, the one given
Mm-hmm.
by us, the body, and no, not just the body, the mind also. And third was the natural calamities. I mean that given by the nature.
Hmm. Yeah, it's called Adi Adhyatmik by the self, then Adi Bhautik given by the others, and Adi Daivik given by the material nature.
Okay.
Uh, then we briefly touched upon this point, the uh, importance of human form of life. What makes it really different from the animals, and what are the similarities? What are the similarities that between animals and human beings?
So basically, main difference is the intellect and able to differentiate, distinguish things,
Mm-hmm.
which is not there in animals. We similarities are we eat, we reproduce,
Mm-hmm.
and like we eat those things.
Sleep and defend. Yeah,
Sleep and defense. And
yeah, yeah. That was yeah, what we discussed in the first session, and then in the second session, uh, we discussed about the existence of God. What were the 5 arguments that we gave, and how we can, have firm faith in God.
so I can broadly tell because I mean broadly was that if something is there, I mean if we see uh, the creation in
Mm-hmm.
nutshell, so there must be a creator.
Yeah, yeah.
So when it comes to the creation, then there were many examples given, uh, like the nature, the beauty of nature, and we also draw examples from many animals, or the species, the designs of
Mm-hmm.
sunflower, or honey, and the way the
Organization,
squirrel.
yeah, honeybees
Yes,
are
yeah,
organized.
yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, we try to dive upon that things are not created by chance. If I mean, we try to hit that theory that it cannot be by chance.
Mm-hmm.
There are things which are making sense,
Yeah.
and we also try to discuss that even I mean that was also in the third session, that even the theories are based on some assumptions, and at the end of the day there were contradicting theories also. I mean the scientists were also admitting that, I mean they were also admitting that it is not the perfect things which they have given. So somewhere just to connect the dots, things were narrated to us.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. That was the crux of the second session. And last session, we discussed about 3 ways of acquiring knowledge. Anybody remembers?
So by understand, I mean, seeing others doing the same thing, we can learn. Or if somebody, I mean, we can do it by ourselves. I mean, by experiencing it, or we can learn it from others who is already into it. And
Mm.
I mean, by seeing something, by
Yes, it's sense perception by, like, it's called Pratyaksha Praman, by,
Pratyaksh Praman,
directly. Yeah, that was the
Anuman,
first.
yeah,
Anuman
Anuman
Praman
Praman,
was
so like
based on
content.
our previous experiences and current observation. We can conclude something, we can, make a guesswork. And the third was
And the Shabd Praman,
Shabda Praman. Yeah, Shabda Praman is like hearing from the right authority.
right authority
Right.
source.
Yeah. And then we also discussed, especially when it comes to understanding the absolute truth meaning which is beyond this material world. So the the other two, the first two ways of Pratyaksha Praman and Anumana Praman don't work. And also we discussed about three defects that we have due to which we cannot uh, actually four defects that we discussed due to which we cannot uh, g- acquire the knowledge about the absolute truth. It has to be based from some authoritative sources. What were the four defects that we have?
We have impure senses, we do mistakes.
Yeah, imperfect senses. Those senses have limitations, so they
Yeah,
cannot sense beyond a particular scope.
we
And
do mis
then, yeah, we do mistakes. So basically, even if we uh, know something correctly, but still we make mistakes. Yeah,
and cheating propensity.
yeah. Cheating propensity was the third one, where we know something and then we uh, not out of mistake, but to manipulate things in our favor, we cheat. We have that tendency. So that is the third defect. One more was there. That
Tendency
was
to
that.
do mistakes.
Yeah, yeah. So we become illusioned basically. So that's the defect, that we become illusioned easily. So we saw so many optical illusions also we saw. So what that means is basically, just say the Sanskrit term for that is भ्रम. We get भ्रमित easily. तो हम जो चीज सच नहीं है उसको सच मान लेते हैं. तो उसकी वजह से भी हम लोग, that is a shortcoming, that is a defect that we have, due to which we cannot know the absolute truth or by on our own. So that means we need some external help. And what is the help that we get from? Where what is the source of getting to know about the absolute truth, that also we discussed?
That was Vedas basically.
Vedas. Yeah. So
Mm.
Vedas are not uh, created by human beings. So the knowledge in the Vedas is not coming from human beings. It is said that in the scriptures that, I mean, the Vedas themselves talk about how they emerge. So at the time of creation, out of the breathing of the uh, Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Vedas also emanated. So that knowledge was emanated, and then it was put in written down form and all otherwise, like, and how the Vedic knowledge was uh, is communicated through the parampara system. Like, you tell to another person, the other person tell to another person, and so on. So that's how the Vedic knowledge was propagated. So today,
Can I, yeah,
yes,
can I ask something? Yeah.
yes,
So,
yes.
although I'm asking, but I also have a solution. So I'm just discussing.
Mm-hmm,
That was that, see, we actually critically analyzed a lot of scientific theories. We
mm-hmm,
questioned them, right? And somewhere, uh, basically, so far that was okay. Now, when it
mm-hmm,
comes to, like we started with Vedas, I think that is the founding stone which we are trying to lay down now,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when we came to Vedas, and the theory that, like you said, that by breathing law, they merged out, or Brahma heard it, and then he narrated it.
Mm-hmm,
Someone wrote it, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So here we do not question it. We treat it as that it is there, right? And I mean, if someone from the scientific background, he can also like we critically analyze scientific theories, they can also critically analyze what we
mm-hmm.
are saying, that this is the truth, or this is the way
Yes.
things emerged out. So the solution which I'm telling you is that I have been part of other organizations also. So one
Mm-hmm.
thing which really, helped me in, getting the first step done is that we need to assume something
Yeah,
first.
axioms. We
Like
talked
in,
about some axioms. Yeah.
we learned about axioms also. Like in scientific, science also. So in mathematics, we have this, the first step as, assuming something and then proving it.
Yes.
We cannot take a step ahead unless we make some assumptions and then we reach the conclusion that we have now proved it. But पहले
Yes.
हमें assume तो करना पड़ेगा ना.
Huh.
तो
So
ऐसे
that is
ही,
putting faith in the scriptures means that same thing that we are discussing, right? Like,
या
yeah.
सो अभी भी जैसे, सो मैं क्वेश्चन नहीं कर रहा हूँ, मैं सोल्यूशन, मैं अपना आंसर भी आपको दे रहा हूँ या मैं कैसे सोच रहा हूँ. बट आई जस्ट
Yes.
वांटेड
Yes.
टू वैलिडेट दैट
Valid.
आई
Yeah,
थिंक दिस
that's
इज
the
द
right.
वे
That's
वी
the
नीड
right
टू.
approach.
राइट.
Yeah.
राइट.
So the एक इंग्लिश में कहावत है, the truth of the pudding is in tasting it, right? So जो
या
scriptures will tell some knowledge, we can based on our observation we can validate that. Many things can be validated by just thinking about it, common sense and all. And then there are certain things which it will talk about which we cannot really comprehend, but it will give like a process. क्या आप अगर वो process follow करते हो तो then over time you will realize.
राइट.
Yeah.
राइट. तो
So based on now, like the rest of the topics are based on what we study in the Vedas and what is coming from scriptures, and many of the things that we will be able to commonly observe in our day-to-day lives, and we'll see how those that piece of knowledge are so much important and beneficial for us to live peacefully in this world also, and also fulfill the purpose of uh, going back to Godhead. We'll come to that also slowly. Throughout these sessions, we'll also emphasize on this point, what is the purpose of life, and थोड़ा थोड़ा pieces के अंदर ये सब आंसर होगा. Okay. So continuing our discussion, today's topic is discovering the inner self. So the question that we are trying to answer today is, who am I? Now, I would like to ask, how would you describe yourself when somebody asks you, who am I? Or who are you? And also the importance of this question. Why is this question, very important and needs to be answered? Just some quick thoughts. Who are you? If somebody asks you, who are you? What is the typical answer?
so we generally, define ourselves, majorly on a bodily level
Mm-hmm.
and the status we carry. And today we have status even on the social media, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the correct, the answer is that I am a soul.
Yes. Yeah.
And the importance of being in this consciousness is it gives all the answers. It helps us align ourselves with the universe and give us a lot of solutions also while being in this consciousness.
Yeah. Very, very nicely said. मतलब कि जो once we know that we are soul and not the body, then we can act on that level and things will be in place. So मतलब आज के पूरे सेशन का crux यही है. So we'll try to make these points little more organized. But yeah, what you said is the crux. So it's like if we don't know who we are, then whatever we think we are doing, we might not be doing the right thing, right? We might be thinking something else. Just like अगर मान लो हम इस कॉन्शियसनेस में हो कि हम लेट्स से यू नो मे बी वेरी वियर्ड एग्जांपल, लेट्स से अगर हमको ये विश्वास हो जाए कि हम पाकिस्तानी है फॉर एग्जांपल, ठीक है, तो हमारा टुवर्ड सरेंडर टुवर्ड्स दैट थॉट कि मैं पाकिस्तानी हूं और मुझे अपने देश की रक्षा करनी है, ठीक है, तो वो एक थॉट जो है दैट वी विल एक्ट अकॉर्डिंगली. बट लेटर लेट से यू रियलाइज कि नहीं, आप पाकिस्तानी थे ही नहीं और आप इंडियन थे, तो आप जो जिंदगी भर कर रहे थे वो आप कुछ अलग ही कर रहे थे, राइट? So it's very important to understand who we really are, or many people have, and also knowing is one thing, theoretically knowing is one thing, and then acting on that level is another thing. So
Hmm.
uh, yeah, let's try to dive deep into this subject. So as a driver drives a car, soul drives the living body, and we'll see some scientific evidences of that also, like even some scientific discoveries have, with those observations we can conclude that there is a existence of a soul. So if you remember in the very first session, we started with a story of a king with four wives, right? And the first wife was the soul, whom that king did not pay any attention throughout his life, and that was the one who would accompany the king uh, even after death. So people may argue that, this is, okay, we heard this story, but I don't believe that there is something called soul. And uh, if we are not, if there is no concept of soul, then who we are really? Are we made up of some matter, some chemicals, which is dead? Uh, just a complex combination of matter. I think even in the last sessions also we discussed this theory of evolution. Although the theory of evolution initially it said that the complex living beings originated from simple living beings. So, but still there was a concept of, life was there and then life evolved. But also then there was a second version which is called uh, from which it was concluded that that thought is there. There is another theory which says that the first life forms originated from matter. Matter meaning chemicals, some complex combination of chemicals. So today we'll try to discuss that cannot be, that doesn't make sense actually. Uh, Matter is dead while the soul is conscious. Thus, the soul is superior to matter. The knowledge of relationship between matter and soul and God can bring great positive changes in this world. So this is why we need to have this knowledge. We need to have this understanding. So even uh, Arjun, when in the beginning of the battle at Kurukshetra, he was a little confused. My whole body is trembling, my hair is standing on end, and my Gandiva bow is slipping from my hand, skin is burning. So he had lack of confidence, anxiety, he was demoralized, stressed, and depressed. And then Lord Krishna gave him the knowledge about the five topics, and the first thing that he talked about is that you are not this body, you are the soul. And eventually, after hearing that knowledge, Arjuna became confident and he fought with enthusiasm and he became victorious. So that's the first thing that Lord Krishna talks about in Bhagavad Gita when he starts speaking. He gives the knowledge of the soul. So in today's topic, we'll discuss, am I matter or am I spirit? Scientific proofs of existence of soul, difference between living person and a robot, which we know pretty much, but just we'll uh, try to discuss it in a little more organized way. And then some mechanisms of mind and practical knowledge of benefits of knowing knowledge about the soul in everyday life. Uh, and we will discuss about our own composition also. We cannot say that uh, okay, we are soul, but then what is this body? This body is also something, right? We are composed of this body at least, or we are encased in this body at least. So as you rightly said, if we ask somebody, who are you, the general idea about ourselves is we can give various identities that we have in this world. Like, our name, the first identity, if somebody asks you, who are you? My name is this and that. Or if we are in a professional circle, we'll say, okay, uh, I hold such and such position. Somebody may also tell about their qualification. I am a CA, I am a PhD in this subject. Or further going ahead, they can tell, oh, I am a man, I'm a woman. In the modern world, that is also become a little bit convoluted. It's People are confused whether they are man or woman. And then you can tell about your nationality. Oh, I'm an Indian, I'm an American, I'm so and so. Or in when it comes to your family, you can talk about your relationship. The son of this person. I'm the father of this person. Whatever. So there are so many identities. But if we see all these identities, they are temporary identities. You know, uh, name, you can have one name, you can have many names, and you can change your name. Or you can change your nationality. Like, a lot of people, we see, who came from India. Earlier they were Indians, now they are Americans. uh, that even on their passport, their nationality is changed. uh, Also, nowadays, even if somebody says, I'm a man or woman, even the gender is changeable. It's become so weird. uh, but somebody may say that, I am the body. At least this body that we are seeing, I am that is not changing. But somebody can ask you, then, which body are you talking about? Are you the same body which you were when you just took birth, when you were 1 day old? Or are you the body when you were 1 month old or 1 year old? The body looks different, right? If somebody, even if we ourselves see picture of lot of babies, and one of the baby is you, after 30, 40 years, you might not recognize which one is you. In fact, I remember we have these albums, right? Especially which are, which have pictures from 20, 30, 40 years ago. If you see our parents' pictures when they got married or when they were kids, uh, so it's hard to identify, oh, this is my uncle, or this is my father, or this is my aunt. It's hard to recognize, because when you saw them, they look all together different. So if somebody say that, uh, I am this body, and there's this professor, Mr. Dr. Harry Monson, he uh, separated out all the chemicals that the body is made up of. You know, some pound of calcium, some pound of phosphate, 9 ounces of potassium, sulfur, magnesium, water, whatever. And it came out that, the matter that is there, the body, which is the body is composed of, it costs about $110, 110 rupees. I mean, I don't know how old is that. Maybe that dynamics have changed with the inflation. But the point is that, does it make sense that, yeah, we are just this lump of matter, a bag of chemicals? Then that thought itself is so degrading that, then there is no value of life. If it's as good as stone. In fact, if we are just a lump of matter, then maybe uh, 10 grams of gold is more valuable than a human body, you know. So this cannot be our identity. Just a lump of chemicals, a bag of chemicals, matter. So what is our real identity then? if we see any living being who is actually alive, we can see the glow on their face, or the body, and right after death the same body uh, looks very dull. The whole glow in that body is gone. That dead body has no feelings, no thinking, no desires, no movement, no consciousness, right? Whereas when the same body few minutes ago, when they were alive, they had feelings, they had some awareness, they could think, they had desires, everything is gone, right? But the body is same. So what is missing? What is the difference between a body just before death and after death? If somebody says, I love this person, okay, and after their death the body is still there, but can you really love that person anymore? uh, in fact, I was listening to this one class about the same topic, and that Prabhuji told was telling about his some of his story, that once his uncle passed away, and their sons were abroad and they had to be called, but it would take them at least a day to reach there, so the body was kept at home. And his aunt asked us to stay in that room where the body was kept. It was put in ice and all. So he said that he couldn't sleep. The body was the same. Then he had this realization: this body, this person who is with whom I'm sleeping, this body is the same with whom I have slept before. He is my uncle. In my childhood, I used to be with them. I have played in his lap, but now I am not able to sleep in the same room where his body is kept. It was such a scary night for him. And the body is still the same. But what has changed is there is no consciousness, there is no soul in that body. Uh, so Bhagavad Gita second chapter, where Lord Krishna starts speaking, these are the first few instructions, that uh, pieces of knowledge that Lord Krishna gives to Arjun. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavita na va na bhuya ajo nitya shashvatavo yam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. So that for the soul there is no birth, no death. For the soul there is no neither the birth nor death at any time. For the body, it is there is birth and there is death. But for the soul, there is no birth and no death. So the difference between the body and the soul, we'll see that the body is made up of matter. We can say that the body is made up of those chemicals that we talked about, but the soul is not matter. It is something else. It is very much more subtle than the matter, and it's spirit. Then the body, which is dead matter, is not conscious, and the consciousness that we see in the living beings is from the soul. So that is another difference. The body undergoes changes. In the scriptures, it is said that it undergoes 6 types of changes. It takes birth, it grows, it reproduces, it dwindles, and then it dies. For the soul, there is no change. The soul remains the same. Body is temporary and the soul is eternal. So uh, different species of life may have different lifespans, but eventually all of them are temporary. And body is dead matter and the soul is alive. The consciousness, the spark of consciousness is the soul. We are not the body we see in the mirror, but we are the real driver, the real uh, living spark inside the body. In fact, it is uh, in the scriptures, it is said that, we the soul is there in the region of the heart. Okay. Now, intuitively also, if we see that, if let's say you have to, some person are very animated, they use a lot of hand gestures and all. uh, if somebody has to convey to some other person that I love you, they typically do not point to their knees and say I love you, or they will not point to their head and say I love you. They'll typically, the natural gesture is they'll point towards their heart and they say I love you. Yeah, and even after knowing this, okay, yeah, we might not have thought about this, but even today, if you, let's say, if I tell you to, okay, if there is some loved one, you have to tell them I love you. Will you point to your knees and say, oh, I love you, this is me and I love you? No, you'll naturally point to your heart, right? Any other thing you point to, you'll know somehow intuitively that no, this is not me. We'll say my hand, my leg, but whose? That my which we are talking about is the self, which is the soul. Bodies are made up of matter, and there are so many species of life. Uh, we cannot be just the a bunch of chemicals, right? We are more than that. So this is and this material viewpoint of everything is made up of matter, everything is finished at the time of death. These thought themselves can ruin the society actually, because if we are just some complex combination of matter, if somebody is deeply rooted in that thought process, he can be so uh, not compassionate, merciless, right? For them, if some person dies, it was just a bag of chemicals. What difference does it make if they are living or dead, right? And for the person also, who, like, if for me, if I am just this body and everything is finished at the time of death, then that kind of life for me is our myself is also not very fulfilling life, right? Whatever I'm doing, it will be gone at the time of death, so what is the point of living at all? Whereas the spiritual viewpoint of ourselves is that we are not the material body just made of flesh and bones. We are spirit soul encaged in this material body, and that spirit soul will continue to exist even after that body, after the body is gone. So then with this thought, it gives a lot of hope that if even if I'm to continue after this body is gone, then what should I be doing for the self, that will make my journey after this body also valuable, successful, right? Just as the bird is trapped in the cage, the soul is trapped in the body made up of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. So the modern science may divide it into different chemicals based on the element periodic table, but our Vedic knowledge divides it into these 5 gross elements. These are called 5 gross elements. ग्रॉस मतलब हिंदी में बोलते हैं स्थूल. So earth, water, fire, air, ether, it's called bhumi, uh, nalo, apo, vayu, and analo, apo, vayu. So earth, water, fire, air, ether, these are the 5 gross elements from which the body is composed of. But there are 3 other uh, gross elements which we are made up of, which are called
जी, ether
mind,
क्या है?
body. What is that?
What is ether?
Ether is space.
Oh, space.
Yeah.
Is it
आकाश जिसको बोलते हैं ना, आकाश.
similar to air?
No, air is air. ether is the space between the elements.
Okay.
तो जैसे कि जब हम किसी का कोई अगर कोई somebody passes away, right, तो उसकी बॉडी को जब हम जलाते हैं तो जो बच जाता है नीचे राख, वो समझ सकते हैं हम जैसे वो अर्थ एलिमेंट है उसका, ठीक है. वाटर, आवर ऑल द फ्लूइड्स दैट travels in the body, they are water. Fire is, we maintain this temperature, right? The body, all the living entity maintain some kind of temperature. जठर अग्नि जो होती है बेली के अंदर, वो डाइजेशन के अंदर हेल्प करती है. सो देर इज दिस एलिमेंट ऑफ एनर्जी विच इज कॉल्ड फायर. एयर इज, in ayurveda if we see, there are 5 kinds of air which are in the body, which should be balanced. और कोई भी जब कोई बीमारी होती है तो वो there is some imbalance in those airs, pranavayu, apanvayu. There are, so many, some types of air, pushes things down, some types of air pushes up things up. So those are the 5 airs. And then there is space between the cells and everything in the body, that is called ether. Akash जिसको बोलते हैं. Akash is not air is vayu, and Akash is the space in which all those elements can come together. Okay. And there are 3 more elements that we'll discuss about more when we go to the mechanisms of mind. But लेकिन जो modern civilization है, is uh, it is a cage polishing civilization. So there is a story of a rich woman who was very lonely. तो उसने सोचा कि मैं काफी लोनली हूँ, इतना पैसा है मेरे पास, तो मैं एक बर्ड खरीद के ले आती हूँ तो टू अ कंपनी. तो वो एक बर्ड ले आई और एक पिंजरे में रखा. वो पिंजरा जो था वो सोने का पिंजरा रखा. शी वॉज वेरी रिच, शी वॉज वेरी कॉन्शियस अबाउट हर रिचनेस. तो उसको उस केज की बहुत चिंता होती थी. शी यूज टू क्लीन दैट केज एवरी डे. उसका पूरा कॉन्शियसनेस जो था वो केज के ऊपर था. And she took care of the cage very nicely, but then in few days she saw that the bird is really starving. She's not taking care of the bird. So uh, she was just starving the bird and taking care of the cage. And that's how the modern civilization is also. We take so much care of the body, but we don't really take care of the soul. अभी हम अपनी लाइफ में एनालाइज करें अगर, नाउ दिस इज अ बिग थिंग, राइट? वी आर नॉट दिस बॉडी, वी आर सोल. सो अगर हमारा रियल आइडेंटिटी सोल है एंड सेकेंडरी आइडेंटिटी में भी बॉडी, लेकिन हमारा सारा जो एफर्ट है दिन भर का, हाउ मच ऑफ दैट एफर्ट डू यू थिंक दैट इज नरिशिंग द सोल? जैसे एक कार है, कार के अंदर ड्राइवर है, ठीक है. जो कार है उसका फ्यूल अलग है, उसको ग्रीसिंग चाहिए, उसको एक पर्टिकुलर टाइप का पेट्रोल चाहिए या डीजल चाहिए, ठीक है. देयर इज सम काइंड ऑफ मेंटेनेंस दैट इज रिक्वायर्ड फॉर द कार, which is entirely different from what kind of maintenance is required for the driver. Driver cannot use those greasing things to grease them, or those petrol, diesel. It cannot survive on that. It has a different need. तो हमारी अगर दिनचर्या में हम देखें कि अगर हम वाकई में ही सोल हैं, और ये हमको कहीं ना कहीं पता है बैक ऑफ द माइंड कि वी आर नॉट दिस बॉडी. अगर हम बॉडी नहीं है, हम सोल हैं, तो हम दिन भर में ऐसा क्या करते हैं जो सोल को नरिश करता है? इट्स अ बिग थिंग टू think about. That's why we are saying that modern civilization is more like a cage polishing civilization. Before we come to the attributes of soul and all, we'll see some of the scientific evidences which proves the existence of soul. क्योंकि हमें अच्छे से कन्विंस भी होना चाहिए कि हाँ, जैसे हमने कुछ आर्ग्यूमेंट दिया कि वी आर नॉट दिस बॉडी, वी आर सोल, क्योंकि कॉन्शियसनेस इज देयर इन द लिविंग thing, and it's not there in the non-living thing. So we'll see these four kinds of proofs. One is common sense, another is consciousness, then some near-death experiences or out-of-body experiences, and reincarnation research or past life memories. Common sense. So the common sense, as we discussed, what is the difference between a person who was living and a person who died just before and after their death? The chemical composition is exactly the same, right? There is not a lot of difference in the chemical composition, but something has left. Something is missing in that, and that missing thing is consciousness. So the consciousness is coming from soul, and it is not just in ऐसा नहीं है कि सिर्फ इंडियन लोगों का सोल होता है और बाकी किसी का नहीं होता, सभी का होता है. तो हम लोग जैसे हमारे अगर फैमिली में या किसी फ्रेंड्स एंड फैमिली में किसी की डेथ होती है तो हम बोलते हैं गुजर गया. वो गुजर गया मीनिंग समथिंग लेफ्ट, कोई चला गया. कौन चला गया? एंड सेम लैंग्वेज इज देयर अक्रॉस, सेम कॉन्सेप्ट इज देयर इन ऑल द लैंग्वेजेस. He passed away. Who passed away? There was somebody who was there and he passed away, or he left the body. एक very common sense में हम लोग बैक ऑफ द माइंड हमें पता है कि या देयर वाज समबडी हु लेफ्ट. अगर हम ये सोचे कि यही जो बॉडी था यही वो पर्सन था, ही इज स्टिल देयर, देन हु लेफ्ट? हु पास्ड अवे? कौन गुजर गया? वो हमें छोड़ के चला गया. कौन छोड़ के चला गया? बॉडी तो है वहां पे. So common sense, with common sense we can say that there is existence of soul. So the soul has passed away. Second thing is consciousness. Consciousness को हम एक और what do we mean really by consciousness? One thing is we are aware of the surroundings, right? इसको हिंदी में बोलते हैं, जिसको बोलते हैं ना चेतना. सो अवेयर ऑफ द सराउंडिंग्स, ये जो आजकल मॉडर्न सेंसर्स वगैरह होते हैं, दे कैन बी अवेयर. अच्छा कि यू नो एक कैमरा जो है वो डिटेक्ट कर सकता है कि सामने रेड लाइट है या ग्रीन लाइट है या ब्राइट लाइट है या डिम लाइट है. इट कैन ऑल्सो बी अवेयर ऑफ द सराउंडिंग. लेकिन उसका जो फील है, द कॉन्शियसनेस, दैट इज नॉट देयर इन द डेड मैटर, एंड दैट इट कैन नॉट हैव एनी टाइम. अगर मान लो कुछ जैसे हम लोग साइट सीइंग के लिए जाते हैं, राइट? साइट सीइंग में भी स्पेशली द सनराइज और सनसेट के लिए देखने के लिए स्पेशली लोग जाते हैं, बिकॉज इट गिव्स सम प्लेजर. सो विद द कैमरा you can program it to detect, okay, it is the sunrise, but can it really feel the soothing feeling that we get while being with the nature, while being in beautiful places? It cannot experience that, right? It can detect that, but it cannot experience. So that is what is meant by consciousness. जैसे ओल्ड मेमोरीज हैं, यू कैन पुट दो ओल्ड मेमोरीज या पिक्चर्स जो हैं वो यू कैन पुट इट इन SD कार्ड, और जितने भी आजकल मेमोरी ये स्टोरेज डिवाइसेस होते हैं क्लाउड पे स्टोर कर सकते हैं. बट कैन दोज क्लाउड स्टोरेज और एनीथिंग, कैन दे एक्सपीरियंस, कैन दे लिव दैट मोमेंट? और द जॉयस मोमेंट, अभी आप अपना कोई पुराना पिक्चर उठा के देख लो जिसमें सारे फैमिली वाले यू वर हैविंग फन, इट कैन स्टोर दैट. लेकिन जो वो एक्सपीरियंस था वो तो दैट इज एन एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस. Dead matter cannot experience anything. So that is what we mean when we say that by the presence of consciousness we can say that yes, there is something which is non-material, which we are made up of. Any doubt about it? ये भी कॉमन सेंस के ही टर्म्स में आ जाता है. Then we'll see some scientific theories, but अभी तक के लिए कोई doubt? Although it is back of the mind, we never think about it, but inherent है ये सब. near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences, there have been many evidences and people have, scientific research is there. A lot of books have been published on these experiences. Okay, they were getting operated, and while they were operated, clinically they were unconscious. But then when they came back to consciousness, they could pinpoint, okay, what all was happening in this room. They heard the conversations, everything. So those are some out-of-body experiences that people have had. हमारे स्क्रिप्चर्स में भी कुछ एग्जांपल मिल जाते हैं, बट मॉडर्न डे में भी कहीं ना कहीं इधर उधर इक्का दुक्का एग्जांपल आते रहते हैं. Then there is reincarnation research. Lot of studies have been published, especially this guy, Dr. Ian Stevenson. He has investigated more than 3,000 cases from past life memories. और ऐसा नहीं है कि मतलब इनके पास कोई फेक केसेस नहीं आए, फेक भी थे, बट दे कुड थ्रू देयर ऑब्जर्वेशंस एंड they could rule out those fakes. But then 3,000 they have published as these clearly look like past life memories. There is no reason to think that they could have fabricated it. We'll see. I think two examples we'll see. There are two videos that we'll see of some past life memory experiences. And even a single evidence of that is sufficient enough to say that, okay, if there is this case of past life memory, that means the something has traveled from the previous body to this body, and that's the soul. एक इंडियन लेडी भी है, she has also done a lot of researches. Another research by the same Dr. Ian Stevenson is that some people sometimes they have these phobias from the very childhood, जो कि ऐसा otherwise they are not explainable by any of the modern science things, right? Okay, why does this person have phobia to particular? Some people have phobias of water, some people have phobias of sharp things, because they are carrying some impressions from the previous life, maybe the way they died and all. The trauma is still there. If the previous life ended in drowning, there would be a phobia of water. If the previous life ended in a stabbing, there would be phobia of bladed sharp weapons. Also, another important thing we can say that about the soul is, if we are the body and twins, the case of in case of twins, we see that their bodily composition is very similar, even their DNA structure is very similar, okay, but still their thought process is different. If the thoughts and all these things, if the consciousness is also coming from the chemicals, then why being very exactly same in terms of material composition and all, their thought process is different, their feelings are different, right? Their behavior is different. If everything is born of chemicals, that cannot be true, but there is something else individual in those two bodies which makes their individual personality, and that is the soul. Two different souls reincarnated in two different bodies, they are genetically identical. Now this is a story of uh, a pilot who was there in the Air Force, US Air Force, and he had past life memories also. Like later in his next birth, he had memories from his past life, and very striking evidences. He from the very childhood he'll speak about it, and a lot of research was there. Let's see this video.
I'm not sure, but we cannot hear the volume of the video. I
Uh,
don't I don't know if it is the same for others. I cannot hear it.
you cannot hear the video?
Same for
Okay,
audio
let
is
me. Mm,
figures, which he named.
I took him to the Kavanaugh Flight Museum.
Is it audible
Here's
now?
home video. While the other kids
Yes.
casually look at the plane, 2-year-old James seems to inspect it. Watch as he checks the underbelly, then climbs inside, donning the headset.
I said, oh, look, there's a bomb on the bottom. He said, that's not a bomb, that's a drop tank.
Bouncing about in the cockpit, James was flying high. That night, their world would change forever.
He started having the nightmares, and that was my first indication that there was something wrong. It was a panic-stricken, terrorized screaming.
Over and over again, James had this same terrible nightmare, 4 to 5 times a week. He was too young to explain the dream, but he could draw.
Bombing ships, you see men parachuting. Here's another one where planes are dropping bombs.
He would just be crying. The airplane crashed on fire, and the little man can't get out. He laid on his back and kicked up at the ceiling, and he goes, Mama, the little man's going like this. And he laid on his back and kicked his feet up. The little man's going, ooh, 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 can't get out. And I said, well, who's the little man, baby? And he goes, me. I thought Bruce and I were just going to faint.
They questioned, what kind of plane?
Corsair.
Why did your airplane crash?
My plane was shot down.
Who shot your plane?
He looked at me like I was a village idiot. He said,
The Japanese. I kept thinking, where's he getting this? I was a stay-at-home mom, so I know that there wasn't anything that he was being exposed to.
Not exposed to in this life, but perhaps, just maybe, somebody else was. Decades earlier, James Houston grew up with the same insatiable fascination with airplanes. He became a naval fighter pilot and fought in World War II. March 3rd, 1945, during a mission near Iwo Jima, he took a direct hit. At age 21, was declared missing and presumed dead.
where did he take off from a boat?
Do you remember the name of your boat? He said, Natoma.
Found several thousand hits on the word Natoma.
The USS Natoma Bay launched into battle, headed for Iwo Jima in the fight for Lady Gaul.
It's the biggest naval battle in the history of the world.
Leo Pike served on the ship. From his home in Ohio, he organizes the Natoma Bay reunions. That's how Bruce found him.
I wanted to disprove it.
He asked a few questions about, did I know some of the people? Oh yeah, I remember those people. And so he got very quiet.
It was all real. The people and places James described actually existed. And remember those G.I. Joe dolls that James named? Turns out 3 men with the same names, first and last, served on the Natoma and were killed in action. James said they greeted him in heaven after his crash.
I'd always asked him, do you remember what your name was? And he always said James. But his name is James.
Yes, there was a Jim Houston, a rather large shell, just hit him in the engine, and it burst into flames and went down.
They showed Leo the drawings.
He was right on the nose. I'm sure, in my mind, that he was there.
Leo invited James, now 3, to the reunion. James recognized several pilots, even called them by name.
You're Bob Greenwald. I'm serious.
He never met Bob Greenwald.
No, he'd never met him before.
And someone else was invited. James Houston's sister, Anne.
And he goes, it's not Anne, it's Annie. She wasn't my oldest sister. I had an older sister than that. And I said, you did? Who was that? And he goes, Ruth. I mean, Ruth.
Eddie is what they called me when I was little. Knowing my name and my sister's name, things that my brother did when he was a kid. It's too amazing to describe how he would feel that way, but he does. He considers me his sister.
But does she consider James her brother?
I think it's probably a reincarnation of my brother.
Suzanne Stratford, Fox 8 News.
This is just one example here, documentary, but there are many such examples. Then there is another story about this Indian girl. Her name is Shukla, and she also remembers so many things from her past life. She could go to the village. She actually took her current life's father to her previous village, which was some few hundred kilometers away from where she was currently living. And then she could point out a lot of people there. She could tell a lot of details about the village, about her home. Uh, she recognized her mother-in-law, brothers-in-law, husband, daughters, uh, nicknames, real names. Like, lot of evidences are there. There are so many famous scientists who also believed in this concept of reincarnation, like taking another birth. Finding Benjamin Franklin said that finding myself to exist in the world, I believe I shall in some shape or other always exist. This is John Adams, and then there is Socrates. I'm confident that there is truly such a thing as living again and the living spring from the dead. In fact, Socrates was like, as uh, I said previously also, that knowing is one thing and realizing this is just a knowledge, right? Like, okay, we are not the body. Our real identity is that we are soul. This is just theoretical knowledge. But having practical realization is a lifetime project. It's not very straightforward to realize that, you know, I'm actually the soul. But these philosophers, great philosophers, they have some sort of realizations. Socrates was imprisoned, and he was given poison, and he was, they were trying to kill Socrates. And he said that for killing me, you have to first catch me. And those people who actually caught him, they were bewildered. They were thinking like, why is he saying this? We have already caught him. But he used to say, you can kill me only if you have to catch me. So he has that realization that, okay, I'm not this body, and you cannot really catch the soul. Now we'll see some more differences between, we can have so many sensors and moving objects, but there is difference between living person and a robot. That consciousness thing that we talked about, a little more detail on that. Is a man not just a powerful computer or robot? If somebody say that, we are moving, we are doing some activities, the same thing we can create a robot and do things, but does that make it living? So a drama can be recorded by a camera, and a drama is, observed by judges. Do they relish the same experience? Although a camera might capture more than what the judges capture and remembers, but the experience, lens in the camera has no experience. It can probably see an emotional scene, and you can put now with AI and all, you can put some intelligence saying that, okay, this was an emotional scene, but will it feel those emotions? Sometimes when we are watching a movie or something, there is emotional stuff, we starts to cry. Will camera cry at any time? Or if there is some comedy movie, a camera probably can detect there is some scene of joy and happiness, but will it really laugh? Whereas, we see so many comedy shows and they're hilarious and we experience that uh, laughter. So camera do not have any emotions. Although it can capture a lot of things which looks similar to what a human being is doing, but uh, the actual human being will experience. Why? Because camera is not conscious, whereas the judges are conscious. The camera can probably put a number, okay, what kind of intensity was it, and but the judges will be able to discriminate also. So there was this conversation between Srila Prabhupada and another, I think, a journalist. Swamiji, I think our body is just a complex machine that gets worn out and crashes. Why we should bother about some soul powering the body? Does your car or computer grow? Do you have a male and female car that can unite and probably produce a baby car? A living body undergoes 6 changes, whereas matter just depreciates, just deteriorates. It is the soul that makes the living body alive. So, जैसे as soon as the soul leaves the body, what happens to the body? It starts decomposing, right? थोड़ी मतलब विदिन, अगर वो उसको 1-2 दिन रख दिया जाए तो उसके अंदर से भयंकर स्मेल आने लगेगी. दैट इज एक्चुअली द बॉडी. And we are so much conscious, so care, so much caring we put to the body and not the soul. In fact, uh, there is a story of it's also another moral story of liquid. It's called liquid beauty. तो एक बार एक there is a rich kingly kind of a person, or he gets attracted to a woman. She is very beautiful. वो उसको देखता है, उसकी सुंदरता से बहुत अट्रैक्ट होके उसको फॉलो करता है, एंड फॉलो करते करते उसके घर पहुंच जाता है. देन ही आस्क के, you are so beautiful, I'm so attracted to you, I will take care of you, will you marry me? That lady is very spiritual in nature, you can say that she could recognize that he is just after my body, uh, and if my body dwindles, then he will not have any love for me. तो वो उसको बोलती है कि या आई विल मैरी यू बट नॉट नाउ, यू कम आफ्टर फ्यू वीक्स. तो वो कहता है ठीक है, आई कैन वेट. Then what she does is she takes lot of laxatives and all, uh, which actually deteriorates her health, and she like vomits a lot, she passes a lot of stool and all, and because she becomes very sick. So, and what she does is she preserves all those stool and vomit and in some pots, and after few weeks that person again comes back to her, and he's not even able to recognize her. She becomes very dull and all her beauty is gone by now. तो वो पूछता है कि वेयर इज दैट लेडी. शी सेज दैट आई एम दैट लेडी द सेम. कहते वो बोलता कि नहीं, बट यू लुक सो डिफरेंट few weeks ago. Now I'm not even able to recognize you. You look so ugly. Previously you were so beautiful. She said that no, I'm still the same person, like, but my beauty I kept in these pots. If you were after that beauty that is there in these pots, you can marry. So then that person looks in the pot, it's obnoxious, right? The moral of the story is that the beauty of the body is not all in all. You know, it's the soul. It's if you have to build a connection with somebody, it should be on the basis of soul, not the outward looking body. A living body undergoes 6 changes while matter only dwindles. खाली जो डेड मैटर होता है वो इट ओनली डीकम्पोजेस. अगर इवन जैसे कोई मेटल की चीज है उसको भी छोड़ दिया है, धीरे धीरे वो ऐसे रस्ट होके डीकम्पोज होके खत्म हो जाती है. उसको फिनिश करने के लिए यू नीड सम लिविंग फोर्स टू make it beautiful, but otherwise by default it dwindles only. A male and female living body can multiply similar species. Machines cannot reproduce by union. Living body has consciousness, thinking, feeling, willing, while matter has no consciousness. These are the 6 changes that a body undergoes: birth, growth, maintenance, production of byproducts, dwindling, and death. This is mentioned in the scriptures. Whereas for the soul, there is no change. Now, any questions so far? We'll go into the next topic, which is we discussed about the 5 gross elements from which the body is constituted, but there are 3 more. We'll discuss about those. And then more subtler than even those 3 things is the soul. Any doubts anybody has that they are the body, they are not the soul? So the soul is covered by gross and subtle coverings. The gross we discussed, right? The 5 gross elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. Then there is another covering which is more subtle than that. So, which is not gross, which cannot be seen really, which cannot be, but you can experience that, which is these 3 things: mind, intelligence, and false ego. And then more subtler than that is the actual soul. So the gross body consists of earth, water, fire, air, ether. We discussed this. Now we'll discuss a little bit more about the subtle body, which is mind, intelligence, and false ego. And then there is soul, and the composition of soul or the properties of the soul are that it is Sachidanand. ये term सुना होगा कई बार, Sachidanand. But what does it actually means? It actually carries 3 attributes. Sat, which means eternity. So the soul is eternal. Chit is knowledge. So the soul has tendency to be knowledgeable, and it is actually knowledgeable. It is full of knowledge. And bliss, Ananda. So soul is Anandamay. It is by default, like the nature of the soul is that it is happy or it is seeking happiness. And then we'll also discuss this faculty, the subtle body, which is mind, intelligence, and false ego, and what are their functions. So the gross body, earth, is like any solids in our body, like flesh, bones. Water is any liquid in the body, like blood, pus, and all. Fire is the heat or the energy in the body, which is like Jataragni and all, which is for, that's responsible for digestion and all in the body and provides energy to the entire body. Then there is air, which is Vayu, and there are 5 types of Vayus. In Ayurveda, it is said that Pran, Apan, Vyan, Udan, Saman are 5 prominent life airs, it is called. Prana Vayu, Apan Vayu. And ether is the space and sound. the medium of sound and space. Subtle body, mind is like the, so when it comes to subtle body, there are three coverings, and the one of the covering is mind, जिसको हम बोलते हैं मन. Now what is that man? What is the function of the man? The function of the man is, it's like a hard disk in a computer system. It stores information. ठीक है? And stores the experiences. जैसे हमने एक गुलाब जामुन खाया, वो हमें अच्छा लगा, मीठा लगा, तो उसका जो एक्सपीरियंस है वो माइंड में, मन में स्टोर होता है कहीं ना कहीं. एंड देन द सेकेंड इज इंटेलिजेंस. Intelligence we can compare to the CPU in a computer system. It can have logical thinking. ठीक है? It can distinguish. It has the facility that it can be trained to distinguish between good and bad, right and wrong. Whereas मन is just the storage. It do not knows about right and wrong. It वो जैसे मेरा कुछ खाने का मन कर रहा है, वो मेरे लिए अच्छा है या नहीं, वो इंटेलिजेंस वाली फैकल्टी बताएगी. So intelligence is the decision maker. And then false ego, which is the immediate covering of the soul. And what is false ego? इसको बोलते हैं, हिंदी में बोलते हैं मिथ्या अहंकार. ठीक है? What is the function of that मिथ्या अहंकार? मिथ्या अहंकार is that feeling जो हमें ये थॉट प्रोसेस कल्टीवेट करती है कि मैं बॉडी हूं. व्हाट इज हु द आइडेंटिफाइंग फैक्टर. ठीक है? जो सोल और बॉडी के बीच में जो कनेक्टिंग फैक्टर है, वो दैट अहंकार है. उसी अहंकार की वजह से हम ये मानने लगते हैं कि मैं ये बॉडी हूं. हमारी आइडेंटिटी जिसके थ्रू हम आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं खुद को, दैट इज दैट अहंकार, इज कॉल्ड मिथ्या अहंकार. और सोल जो है, दिस इज the three things that we are looking for in our life also. जैसे knowledge seeking एक natural tendency है, that is coming from the soul, because it is a function of it is the composition of the soul. Similarly, जैसे फर्स्ट सेशन में हमने देखा, डिस्कस किया था कि all we are looking for is happiness. Why are we looking for happiness? Because that is the transcendental nature of, eternal nature of the soul. Happiness, it to be anandamay. So because of that we always seek happiness. And third thing also is that we seek eternity also. ये जितना भी मॉडर्न डे हेल्थ केयर सिस्टम के अंदर रिसर्च चल रहा है, वो किस लिए चल रहा है? टू प्रोलॉन्ग द लाइफ. व्हाई इज देयर अ नीड और एन अर्ज टू प्रोलॉन्ग लाइफ? बिकॉज वी आर सोल विच इज इटर्नल, विच ऑलवेज एग्जिस्ट. तो वही टेंडेंसी जब हम अपने आप को आइडेंटिफाई करने लगते हैं बॉडी से, हम उसके ऊपर भी इंपोज करना चाहते हैं कि हाँ, इट शुड ऑल्सो बी इटर्नल, इट शुड हैव लॉन्गर ड्यूरेशन. तो बिकॉज ऑफ दैट वी ट्राई टू लिव लॉन्गर, बिकॉज ऑफ दैट सत aspect of the soul. Any questions? Interesting thing? And this is from gross to subtle. If we see, actually इसमें भी when we see these 5 elements, उसमें भी अर्थ जो है वो मोस्ट ग्रॉस है. उससे थोड़ा सटल होता है वाटर, उससे थोड़ा सटल होता है एयर, देन फायर, एंड देन ईथर इज वेरी सटल. एंड देन इन द सटल बॉडी माइंड इज मोर ग्रॉस देन इंटेलिजेंस, ऑल्दो दे आर ऑल थ्री आर सटल. लेकिन उसमें भी जो माइंड है उससे ज्यादा सूक्ष्म या सुपीरियर इंटेलिजेंस है, उससे भी ज्यादा सूक्ष्म और सुपीरियर अहंकार है, फॉल्स ईगो. So once we know about these, we can know the mechanism of mind. ठीक है? Now we have these 5 senses: ears, eyes, nose, tongue, skin. हम बोलते हैं ना हमारे 5 इंद्रियां, पंचेंद्रियां. तो whatever we sense through these five senses, mind become the storehouse of all those experiences. और उसी के बेस पे हम लोग डिजायर्स को कल्टीवेट कर सकते हैं या करते हैं. लेकिन उसमें से क्या करना है क्या नहीं करना, वो इंटेलिजेंस जो है उसका डिसीजन इंटेलिजेंस के पास रहता है. तो टू लिव अ हैप्पी लाइफ we cannot randomly try to serve the senses, because it might give some impressions which the mind will pull us in one direction, whereas intelligence, if it is weak, it cannot make proper decisions and it will carried away by the unfulfilled desires, and those are the impressions of the senses. So we need to strengthen our intelligence so that it can control the mind, and eventually we can control the senses, and basically we act in this world through our senses only. ठीक है. And an analogy is given in the scriptures about this chariot of the body. So the chariot of the body analogy is कि horses are like five senses, and then the reins, जिसको हम लगाम बोलते हैं, they are like the mind. The driver is like the intelligence and the passenger is the soul. तो अगर इस पूरे चैरियट को एक सोर्स से डेस्टिनेशन पे जाना है, लाइक द पर्पस ऑफ दिस चैरियट इज कि सोल जो है वो एक पर्टिकुलर डेस्टिनेशन पे जाए. उस डेस्टिनेशन पे जाने के लिए ये जरूरी है कि ये ड्राइवर जो है विच इज इंटेलिजेंस, इट हैज टू बी स्ट्रांग इनफ कि वो माइंड के थ्रू सेंसेस को कंट्रोल कर पाए. नहीं तो फिर सेंसेस विल गो इन रैंडम डायरेक्शंस अगर इंटेलिजेंस स्ट्रांग नहीं है, एंड इफ इट गोज इन रैंडम डायरेक्शंस द सोल विल नॉट रीच इट्स डेस्टिनेशन. The horses are five senses. जो लगाम है, they are, it's like the mind. Driver is the intelligence and passenger is the soul. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, shloka number 6, Bandhur atmanastasya येन आत्मनैव जीत आत्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे वर्ते तात्मैव shatruvat. He is basically, what he is trying to tell is mind is the friend. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of the friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. जितने भी आज की डेट में जो ऐसे जो कलह होते हैं, नो डिफरेंस बिटवीन रिलेशनशिप्स, डिप्रेशन, दिस दैट, व्हाट इज द सोर्स ऑफ दैट? मन. ये सब मन का खेल है जिसको बोलते हैं. ठीक है. और मन को कैसे कंट्रोल किया जा सकता है? विद by nourishing the intelligence. Controlled mind will be your best friend and uncontrolled mind will be your enemy, because it will pull you in different directions. ऐसा बोलते हैं ना कि मन में ही, हमारे मन में अच्छा और बुरा, द गुड डॉग एंड द बैड डॉग आर बोथ देयर इन द माइंड. whom do you feed? How do you feed that? How do you make the good part strong? By giving him good impressions. How do you give them good impressions? By engaging your senses in good stuff. How do you know whether you are engaging in good stuff? You have to strengthen the intelligence. How do you strengthen the intelligence? By reading the scriptures. Okay, so this is the mechanism of mind, and it is so important, so very important. Mind is compared to a knife. Is the knife good or bad? In a surgeon's hand, it can save life, whereas in a criminal mind, it can be dangerous. Gigo principle. What is the Gigo principle in anybody from software world? Garbage in, garbage out.
Good in, good out.
गुड आउट. तो माइंड में हम किस टाइप के इंप्रेशन स्टोर करेंगे, और अगर इंटेलिजेंस को स्ट्रांग नहीं करेंगे तो दिस इज व्हाट हैपेंस. how do you where do we get our scripts from? What are we putting in our mind? What are the various ways we put good stuff or garbage stuff in our mind?
Experience.
Practical level पे where do the mind gets its impressions from the books we read,
Social media.
from the movies we watch. Very dangerous. This is the worst place to pick our scripts from. Sound we hear, people we associate with, friends and families, friends we keep. Right? Any doubt about this? So we have to be very, very cautious what we feed to the mind. Throughout the day, are we feeding the stuff that will make good impressions? क्योंकि अगर कोई किसी चीज का कोई एक्सपीरियंस मिलेगा, that thing will start pulling in that direction, right? फिर then it becomes more and more difficult. अगर मान लो इंटेलिजेंस को if you put bad impressions in your mind and now your intelligence with your intelligence you are able to discriminate also, लेकिन that those impressions if they are very deep and strong it is hard to uproot those, right? You will be pulled in that, then intelligence have to be very very strong. तो it's better, जैसे एक एग्जांपल दिया जाता है कि अगर मान लो कोई प्लांट होता है छोटा, ठीक है, वीड्स, वो वीड्स जब एकदम छोटे और टेंडर हैं देन इट इज इजी टू पुल देम आउट, ठीक है, वो इंप्रेशन अभी स्ट्रांग नहीं, लेकिन अगर वो इंप्रेशन धीरे धीरे स्ट्रांग होते जाएंगे, नरिश होते जाएंगे एंड दे टर्न इनटू अ बुश, इट इज हार्डर टू पुल इट आउट एंड इफ इट बिकम्स लाइक अ ट्री देन इट विल बी वेरी वेरी डिफिकल्ट, तो वो इंप्रेशन ना ही जाए तो अच्छा है. ऑन दी अदर हैंड द सेम एनालॉजी कैन बी यूज कि अगर हम गुड थिंग्स को कल्टिवेट कर रहे हैं, गुड हैबिट्स को कल्टिवेट कर रहे हैं, गुड इंप्रेशंस को हम दे रहे हैं थ्रू इनिशियली इटसेल्फ फ्रॉम द वेरी बिगिनिंग, अगर हम इंटेलिजेंस के थ्रू वी आर checking, we are guarding what is being fed it to the mind, then those impressions will become strong and nobody can deviate from your path easily. You can be very strong minded in your path, firm in your determination. uh, Mind feels I'm an engineer, I should know how to hold a cigarette at least. Smoking makes me feel cool. Intelligence thinks no 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 no, that's bad habit, not good for you. Your parent won't like to see you doing this, you may become addicted to it, don't get into the wrong track. तो अगर इंटेलिजेंस वीक होगी देन माइंड विल ओवर पावर इट, इंटेलिजेंस स्ट्रांग होगी तो एटलीस्ट माइंड कैन इट कैन कंट्रोल द माइंड, इट कैन बेसिकली इग्नोर द माइंड कि तेरी नहीं चलने देंगे हम. सो दिस नॉलेज इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. लाइक सोल को अगर उसकी डेस्टिनेशन पे लेके जाना है तो अपने सटल बॉडीज को और अपनी ग्रॉस बॉडी को भी, बिकॉज इवेंचुअली द सेंसेस आर अ पार्ट ऑफ द ग्रॉस बॉडी, लेकिन वट एवर वी एंगेज द सेंसेस इन it becomes a part of the subtle body, and then any activity that we do in the world that will determine where we are going. So soul is whether it is going to whether it is on the right path or not, it is determined through this faculty of the body. So it's not that this body is not important, this body is a vehicle where the soul is encased in, but this vehicle has to go in the right direction so that the soul reaches its the right destination. Before we move ahead, I also wanted to touch base upon that, you know, there are some more information about the soul that are given in the scriptures, which might be, they are like FAQs. Okay, soul is there in the region of the heart, we discussed, right? Or what does that mean really? कि अगर मान लो किसी का हार्ट ट्रांसप्लांट किया तो उसका सोल ट्रांसप्लांट हो गया? It's not bound by the heart. When the scriptures say that it is there in the region of the heart, basically heart is the sitting place. It is the seat where the soul sits. That doesn't mean कि वो सीट उसकी निकाल देंगे तो वो सीट के साथ चला जाएगा, नहीं, हार्ट ट्रांसप्लांट होगा तो वो वहीं रहेगा, इट जस्ट गेट्स अ न्यू चेयर. So some people have this question, okay, अगर मान लो सोल इज देयर इन द हार्ट, तो हार्ट इधर से इधर किया, किसी का ट्रांसप्लांट किया तो सोल भी ट्रांसफर हो गया? नो, नॉट लाइक दैट. Any other question? There are so many people sometimes have so many questions around this concept. Like for example, another question could be कि जैसे past life memories है, right? So why only few people remember their past lives? Why not everyone? Right? One more thing, very important. जैसे even when we talk about this past life memory, what is the, जैसे अगर किसी को फोबिया भी है, right? So and where is the, what is the storehouse of the experiences? Mind. So when a soul transmigrates from one body to another, the subtle body is also carried on from one body to another. That's why people have some impressions from their previous lives, because mind, which is a part of the subtle body, goes along with the soul. And how long it will stay with the soul? Until he is there in this material world. When, in order to get out of the material world, you have to get rid of that subtle body also. Only as pure spirit soul, the soul can go out of the material world. As long as it is there in the material world, it will have the immediate subtle body which is there. समझ आ रहा है सब? Clear? Not clear? Yeah, it's just like a theoretical knowledge, good to know, but what to do with this?
समझ आ रहा है भाई. Prabhu, one question.
Yes.
So when we say, like, when we age and die, right, the soul departs. Why, like, say if somebody gets a bullet, so is it like you're saying the soul is not associated with the heart also? So why cannot stay, like, because somebody gets a bullet or an accident and then also the soul departs? So is it the soul is dependent on the body, uh, or like, how should I, like, understand that, like?
It's like to interact with the world, right? To interact with the world, we require some kind of facility. That is, this facility is given to you, right? The body is given to you. Now, the body has its own limitation. So the soul, in order to interact with the body, it is using this body as a facility, but this body has its own limitation. If it is damaged, you cannot use it for certain purposes. Like even if you see that soul experiences everything, soul has, let's say, even the soul has a tendency to, or how should I say, let's say soul wants to express something, right? If it is aware, it wants to express something, but the body has to facilitate that expression. Now, in the body of a tree cannot express a lot of things because of the covering, the type of body it has. Similarly, अगर मान लो if somebody is let's say dumb, जैसे गूंगे होते हैं, they can express through their expression, but they cannot express through their voice because it's a bodily limitation that they got. So similarly, body will perform some function. तो अगर किसी को bullet लग गया and the bodily organs they fail to function in the way they should, then the soul cannot interact with the world through that body anymore.
But does that mean the soul is still there? Like my question is more towards like when the soul comes to this world, it has its own like is the journey defined and it has a stipulated time,
Mhm.
and then it will depart when it has to depart, versus it is dependent on the body and it has to depart when the body just gives up.
We'll discuss a little more about this when we talk about karma. But when the soul comes to this material world, ठीक है, it is trying to, the reason it is here is to fulfill their desires, right? So the particular type of body is given for them to fulfill desires, and then in this human form of life, it is given the intelligence to discriminate. If it is utilizing it properly to discriminate, it will be even either given better facility or better body, and it will also come with a lifespan also. कि इतना टाइम तक तुम अपने डिजायर्स को फुलफिल करो इस फॉर्म ऑफ फैसिलिटीज के, ठीक है, एंड देन द बॉडी विल इवेंचुअली बी गिवन अप बिकॉज the soul the soul's journey has to continue in some other way.
Yeah,
So
like I'll tell you like where my question is stemming up, because we also have heard stories about these bhoot, pret, atma, and all, right? So
yeah,
is it
yeah.
because when like somebody said, hey, this was like akasmat mrityu ho gayi inki, so is it
Mhm.
like this soul comes in this world, it has its own lifespan, and it has to, as you said, like it has to be here to fulfill the desire, but accidentally the vehicle, the body, when that
Mhm.
gives up suddenly, accidentally, or whatever happens, right, the
Mhm.
soul will still not depart from the world and it will just keep looking
Roaming
for
around.
some. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a very good topic. These ghosts and भूत प्रेत जिसको हम बोलते हैं, they
Mm-hmm.
are basically souls which did not get the gross body yet,
Mm-hmm.
ठीक है. So why does a soul enter into such kind of a miserable situation? There are
Mm-hmm.
two major reasons. One is untimely death. लेकिन untimely death का भी कोई ऐसा, there is no very clear definition. If somebody, if you are there in some calamity, ठीक है, कोई let's say you are in a train accident, or yeah, or let's say there was some earthquake and or there was a flood and you drowned, those will still be considered as natural deaths. The
Okay.
one case which is considered as unnatural death is suicides.
Mm-hmm.
So suicides is in that category where you are prematurely ending your body, whereas you were still there to enjoy or suffer something, some reactions, but you give up that body while the new body is not yet ready for you.
Mm-hmm.
So if the new body is not yet ready for you, you roam around in the world in this ghostly body, and through that ghostly body is a very miserable condition where you have desires still, and you want to fulfill those desires, but you don't have the facility, the gross facility to fulfill those desires. So they try to acquire somebody else's body.
Mm-hmm.
ठीक है, that is one reason. Suicide is one. Another is somebody who has very very strong attachment. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
or very very strong desire to be fulfilled, that even when the body is damaged, they don't want to give it up. ठीक है, so if they don't want to give it up, they want to fulfill that desire. So that's why they might get a uh, temporarily they might be hung into this state of ghostly existence.
Got it. So it's not like so there is no like hard binding with like soul and body, right? Like when the soul comes, it gets the body, and the body, as well as we know, like as you explained, like body is also changing. The 5 year of my body and 25 year of my body, and now 40 year of my body is all changing.
Yeah, yeah.
So the soul has been like transferring, right, or from one
Hmm.
body to another. But when this body, and when we say like now the body is no more in
Useful.
function,
Yeah,
like
no,
now, yeah,
no more functional. Yeah,
yeah, no more in function, then the soul will
the soul
depart.
leaves the body. Yeah.
Okay.
So, uh, very famous sloka in Bhagavad Gita. देहिनो इसमिन् यथा देहे कौमारम यौवनम जरा
Mhm.
तथा देहांतरस प्राप्तिस धीरस तत्र न मुयति. So, as the soul passes from boyhood to adulthood to old age, similarly, the soul passes from one body to the another, and a sober person is not bewildered by this change. It's just a change of dress, which is happening in the current life also. Although we may not be very consciously realizing that, but it's the same thing happening in this current body also. We are changing the body. In fact, every 7 years, almost all of your cells of your body are changed. Meaning, जो आज हमारी बॉडी का composition है 7 साल पहले it was entirely different. All the cells were different. They have died, and there are new cells now. So your body is different now, but you know internally that you're the same person in a different body. Although the body is different, and but you're still the same person. How do you know that you are the same person? Because
Soul
you are
is.
same actually. Because your soul, you are there.
Yeah, because
हम लोग
on the body level as well, I'm trying to understand like what is must for the soul to be like to utilize the body, right? Because somebody's legs get say amputated, they have
Mhm.
like got an accident and they don't have a leg now or a hand now. They still
Yeah,
live.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, obviously the modern medicine or even the Ayurveda, they also tells what is the minimum function of the body that is required. And when if you see when the fetus starts growing, at
Yeah.
the soul is there, but the body starts building on top of that. Because of the existence of the soul, the body is building. All the organs are not developed, but still it is existing as a living thing, and its consciousness is not evolved that much. Slowly, as all the facilities evolve, uh, your in fact, just say these are like different coverings also. So there is definitely this facility that has to be there to interact, which is body, and it has to have certain minimal characteristics also.
Mm.
क्योंकि अगर कोई बोले कि हाँ मैं द एंटायर ऑल द बॉडीली फंक्शंस आर रिक्वायर्ड टू बी टू बी लिविंग, लेकिन अगर किसी का हाथ काट दिया जाए तब भी वो लिविंग है. सोल इज देयर, एंड हैंड विच इज कट ऑफ फ्रॉम द बॉडी, it cannot experience anything. So in fact you will have people without legs, without hands. uh, I don't know to what level we can reduce that. Okay, now this is the minimal body that you require to exist. सर काट दोगे तो मर जाओगे. Although from scriptures we see there are very rare situation where even uh, that kind of body is still livable, like Rahu Ketu, right? They are just the head.
Mm.
Still they are living.
So and say Prabhu, like so heart is the say place
Meeting
for,
place. Yeah.
yeah. But so when the heart transplants happen,
Uh-huh.
say person A and person B, so person B gave the heart to person A. So
Uh-huh.
now the person A has the soul of person B, or the person A has
No,
the
no,
soul of
no, no, no. So if person A, जैसे वो एक इट्स लाइक चेयर, मैं इस चेयर पे बैठा हूँ, ठीक है,
Hmm.
ये चेयर इज नो मोर फंक्शनल now. Because of some technology there is a way to replace this chair. So chair replace होगी तो the soul will sit in the new chair, but that person will be aware that मैं वही person हूँ. I'm not the different person. But what happens is in this case also whenever there is organ transplant and all. So because of this false ego, when the soul starts identifying themselves with the body, it also develops some kind of attachment. इसलिए अपने शास्त्रों के अंदर दिस ऑर्गन ट्रांसप्लांट इज नॉट वेरी एडवोकेटेड, नॉट वेरी प्रिस्क्राइब्ड, क्योंकि तुम्हारा अटैचमेंट है एंड इफ योर ऑर्गन इज स्टिल फंक्शनिंग इन सम अदर बॉडी, you might still have attachment and you don't want to leave the world because you have for a very long time you have identified with those organs.
So you're saying both the souls will be there?
No, not both the souls. तो जो पर्सन बी का जिसका हार्ट ट्रांसप्लांट ओके, टिपिकली हार्ट विल नॉट बी रिप्लेस. हार्ट ट्रांसप्लांट होता है कि हाँ वन पर्सन इज डाइंग तो उसके बाद कुछ उसका सोल ऑलरेडी लेफ्ट, उसकी चेयर खाली हो गई तो वो चेयर इधर से इधर मूव कर दी.
So the moment we take the heart out of B, the B's soul is gone.
B soul is gone. हाँ, तभी तो वो उसका चेयर हम यूज कर रहे हैं.
प्रभु जी, I have a question.
Yeah.
जैसे आपने बोला कि organ transplantation is not recommended by शास्त्र, but isn't it परोपकार? फिर हम मतलब isn't it परोपकार?
परोपकार होता है when you are thinking about somebody's eternal benefit. It's like just like just ये थोड़ा सा हार्ड टू अंडरस्टैंड भी हो जाता है कभी कभी. जो चीजें मॉरली अच्छी लगती हैं दे माइट नॉट बी द राइट थिंग टू डू समटाइम्स. ठीक है, तुम किसी को लंबा लाइफ दे रहे हो मटेरियल वर्ल्ड के अंदर टू इलोंगेट देयर लाइफ माइट और सम फैसिलिटी that might not be the ultimate good for that person. That may be or may not be. It depends on how eventually it reflects into, right? It's just like charity.
प्रभु जी, ऐसे तो किडनी ट्रांसप्लांट वगैरह भी फिर उस हिसाब से तो फिर it's not right, right?
हाँ, it's not very recommended. किडनी ट्रांसप्लांट में क्या है कि अभी मान लो योर सोल इज देयर इन दिस वन बॉडी, एक तुमने यू गिव अवे वन पार्ट ऑफ योर बॉडी उसके साथ बट यू स्टिल हैव द बॉडी, सो यू विल बी अटैच्ड टू दिस बॉडी. लेकिन अगर मान लो एट द टाइम ऑफ डेथ इफ यू आर ट्रांसप्लांटिंग तो देयर इज चांस कि वो सोल जो है वो अगर अपनी बॉडी से बहुत अटैच था तो इवन आफ्टर दीज ऑर्गन्स आर स्टिल देयर. इवन जैसे मान लो व्हाई डू वी क्रीमेट द बॉडी इमीडिएटली आफ्टर द डेथ, कि उसका अटैचमेंट जल्दी से जल्दी खत्म हो जाए कि नाउ द सोल विल हैव नथिंग टू बी अटैच टू, राइट? कि उसका बॉडी जो था इट इज गॉन नाउ. So similarly, it's better to cremate the body.
Okay, Ravi. Thank you.
जीजू एक सवाल था, like does a soul chooses the body?
Soul doesn't choose the body. Soul has desires, and based on the desires, a body is awarded to the soul.
Body is awarded. Okay.
So another thing, this will eventually, like, we'll discuss more in detail, but soul comes to this material world out of some desires to enjoy the material world or enjoy basically different from God. That seed desire, when the soul gets that desire, because it is free to desire, that's the function of the soul. In order to fulfill that desire, a particular type of body will be given in this material world. Can you try and fulfill your desire? Eventually you will get frustrated, and then when you come to this realization that for happiness this is not the right place, and when you come to this realization, then the soul starts cultivating or purifying its desire. That's the beginning of spiritual life. What do we say? Self-realization.
So the people who have a spiritual tendency, or they are inclined to spiritualism. So can we say they are near to their journey? I mean, near to the end of their journey because they have
They,
started realizing that.
they have definitely made progress. So uh, this concept of eternity, the soul is eternal, right? Three things we discussed. Satchit Anand. Uh, the concept of eternity is not very easy to understand. We have this very short span of life, 100 years, 200 years. Uh, some trees and all, they live for thousands of years. If we see from our scriptures, the lifespan of Brahma, it's in billions of years. But as when we try to compare it to eternity, it's just like a flash, just like a blink of an eye, even although it might be such a long duration. So when you're making progress uh, on your spiritual journey, you're what you're doing basically is purifying your desires. जब हम material world में आते हैं, we get covered with these uh, we have some desire. When we are fulfilling those desires, and if we are not discriminating properly, we build layers and layers of anarthas around it. So the process of spirituality is to get rid of those anarthas, cleanse. It's a cleansing process, so that you realize or you work or act at a pure soul level without the anarthas. What are the anarthas? Kama, krodha, moh, mad, matsarya, lob, six. There are these six anarthas, and out of which the three specifically are called like the real great enemies: lust, anger, and greed. So the process of spirituality is to get cleansed of those anarthas. And all the disturbances that we see in the material world, wars or relationships problem, or uh, you know uh, tendency to acquire more and more, getting famous, getting rich, getting successful, they are all rooted in these anarthas. What is basically uh, lust? A desire, like a strong desire to have something. And what is greed? On top of that, we want more and more of that. So, and then what happens is, when that desire is not fulfilled, person becomes angry. Like जैसे कोई छोटा बच्चा होता है, ठीक है, वो कैंडी खाना चाहता है. So that is kind of a lust. He wants to eat a candy for, because it will give him some uh, sensual pleasure. But once it gets that, he wants it more and more. That is greed. And if it is not fulfilled, he'll become angry and he'll throw tantrums. So lust, anger, and greed, one followed by another. Another one very important thing about when we talk about soul is that soul is individual. Like each soul is an individual, and it's not that uh, it will cease to exist as individuality. जैसे कई फिलोसफीज के अंदर ऐसा मिस इंटरप्रेट किया जाता है कि जब किसी को मोक्ष मिल जाता है, then he becomes one with the Lord and he loses his existence. That is a false interpretation. The right interpretation is he lives in the kingdom of the Lord, but he will still maintain his individuality. I think we are almost at time. There was few more things left on this topic, but we can continue next time. Are there any more questions? Because this concept is the very basic of spirituality, understanding what is spirit. spirit is something not material, right? So, and consciousness or subtle things are always the proof of subtle things are through their experiences or through their symptoms only. It is not through any mechanical means. अगर कोई सोचे कि मैं ऐसे माइक्रोस्कोप से सोल को देख लूं या उसको किसी इनफैक्ट देर वर आई हैव हर्ड लॉन्ग बैक के ओ समबडी सम साइंटिस्ट डिस्कवर सोल क्यों उन्होंने किसी बॉडी को ऐसे किसी चेंबर के अंदर रखा और वो जब मर गया तो ऐसे वो चेंबर में से क्रैक होके निकला बट दैट्स नॉट वेरी गुड प्रूफ ऑफ अगर अब ऐसा हुआ भी तो वैसा मुझे लगता नहीं कि बिकॉज सोल कैनॉट बी बाउंड बाय दैट बॉक्स so if soul leaves you it is you मतलब उसको उस बॉक्स में से निकलने के लिए इट डजंट नीड टू ब्रेक इट अपार्ट तो इस टाइप के ऐसे कुछ ना कुछ एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन के गलत सोर्सेज को यूज करके गलत थ्योरीज बना के गलत इंटरप्रिटेशन निकाल के यू आर ट्राइंग टू प्रूव समथिंग विच इज देयर इट देयर आर अदर सिम्टम्स फ्रॉम दोज सिम्टम्स यू कैन सी दैट द सोल इज प्रेजेंट अब जैसे मान लो हमारा फोन जो है हाउ डू यू नो दैट देर इज सिग्नल अराउंड टावर का सिग्नल आ रहा है दिख रहा है कहीं पे फोन में वो 3 टिक्के दिखते हैं ऐसे वो कि हाँ यहाँ पे सिग्नल आ रहा है दैट्स अ सिम्टम कि हाँ योर फोन इज कनेक्टेड दैट्स अ सिम्टम बट यू कैनॉट रियली सी एनीथिंग और टच एनीथिंग और योर जो हमारी जो ज्ञान इंद्रियां हैं ज्ञान इंद्रियों से यू कैनॉट detect but it's a symptom because it is that wave is subtle similarly consciousness is subtle it can be experienced it cannot be अगर कोई बोले कि I cannot see the soul so I don't believe in soul it doesn't make any sense you don't see so many things but you experience so many things and you believe in it
जब मेरे को गुस्सा आ रहा है तो वो मेरा बॉडी को गुस्सा आ रहा है कि मेरे सोल को गुस्सा आ रहा है
किसी को गुस्सा आ रहा है तो सोल एक्चुअली जस्ट एक्सपीरियंसेस सोल को गुस्सा नहीं आता कभी soul experiences the suffering caused by anger and that anger is basically appearing in somewhere in the subtle body mind intelligence false ego का कुछ तो culmination है some combination of that मतलब it's not independent but yeah definitely mind plays a major role there
तो ये जितने भी अनर्थ है ये उसमें ही हो रहे हैं और मेरा सोल को वो इम्पैक्ट कर रहा है हावी हो रहा है मेरे
soul is suffering because of all your coverings जैसे जैसे सोल इन इटसेल्फ जैसे मान लो कोई बल्ब है बल्ब लाइट है ठीक है उसके ऊपर वो कवरिंग लगा दो एक ट्रांसल्यूसेंट पीला पेपर लगा दो तो वो लाइट पीली लगने लगती है फिर उसके ऊपर एक हरा और लगा दो फिर उसके ऊपर लाल और लगा दो ऐसे ये सब कवरिंग्स है कवरिंग 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 पर वो ऐसे कभी कभी इस लेवल तक कवरिंग होती है कि सोल एक्सप्रेस ही नहीं कर पाता जो एक्सप्रेस करना चाह रहा है जैसे मान लो ट्रीज वगैरह हैं वो दे कैन नॉट एक्सप्रेस टू मच देयर कॉन्शियसनेस इसलिए बोलते हैं कि इट्स कॉन्शियसनेस इज नॉट डेवलप्ड लेकिन ऐसा नहीं है कि वो सोल जो है वो कुछ कम है द पोटेंशियल ऑफ द सोल इज स्टिल द सेम it's because that covering is so thick that it cannot express that consciousness so हम ऐसा बोल देते हैं कि its consciousness is not evolved in fact अगर हम scriptures में देखें कि there are these 84 लाख योनियां जिसको बोलते हैं उस 84 लाख योनियों में से 4 लाख जो है वो ह्यूमन फॉर्म्स हैं तो हम लोग जो देखते हैं वो होमोसेपियन मतलब होमोसेपियंस इज वन रेस विच इज होमोसेपियंस मतलब ह्यूमन बींग्स लेकिन वाई इज द कैटेगराइजेशन ऑफ 4 लाख ह्यूमन स्पीशीज क्योंकि उनका लेवल ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस डिफरेंट है
मेरा एक प्रश्न है यहाँ पे प्रश्न ये है कि इज द सोल रियली ड्राइविंग द बॉडी सो अगर मुझे क्रोध आ रहा है तो सोल का कोई रोल नहीं है इज द सोल द गुड सेल्फ इन मी or is it only there existing just as a keeping my body alive lively, or is it really charioting my body? सोल का एक्चुअल रोल है क्या, मतलब क्यों है सोल?
सोल का एक्चुअल रोल होता है वैसे थिंकिंग, फीलिंग एंड विलिंग। ठीक है, सोल का एट्रीब्यूट एक तो ये है कि वो सच्चिदानंद है। ठीक है, इट्स बेसिकली नेचुरल कॉम्पोजिशन ऑफ सोल इज कि वो इटर्नल है, इट विल नेवर डाई। तो वो टेंडेंसीज जो है वो जब रिफ्लेक्ट होती है तो वी वांट टू लिव लॉन्गर। सिमिलरली सोल बाय नेचर, बाय कॉम्पोजिशन इज knowledge seeking or knowledgeable. So that's why we have so many curiosity around it. But other than these three things, Satchid Anand, soul is also Anandamay. It is looking for happiness. It is not looking for happiness. It is by nature, by it is joyful. तो अगर उसकी वो कवरिंग्स जो है वो अनर्थों की वो हटा दोगे तो इट इज बाय डिफॉल्ट जॉयफुल ओनली। देन there are the other three functions are thinking, feeling and willing. So it definitely suffers and enjoys the bliss जो आनंद में है वो it experiences that, but it's not the driver of the body. Like it will not dictate what the body should do, but it will have desires. So based on those desires, all the other functions, all the other facility of mind and intelligence will facilitate to fulfill that desire, and that desire will eventually give some satisfaction that the soul will experience. Now, because if the desire is not purified, then it can guide the other facility, mind, intelligence, to engage in some activities which will not eventually give deep satisfaction to the soul. वो बाद में फ्रस्ट्रेट हो जाएगा, वो उसका डिजायर हुआ लेकिन वो डिजायर फुलफिल कर होने के बावजूद भी इट विल नॉट फील द सेटिस्फैक्शन, क्योंकि
तो
फील करना जो फंक्शन है।
डिजायर भी तो मन का पार्ट था।
डिजायर ये थोड़ा सी इट्स सो क्लोज कवरिंग राइट विद द सोल, इट्स हार्ड टू डिस्टिंग्विश व्हाट इज डिजायर ऑफ द सोल एंड व्हाट इज द व्हाट इज द पुलिंग ऑफ अ माइंड। दे आर सो स्ट्रांगली कनेक्टेड, लेकिन दोनों में डिफरेंस होता है। मोस्टली
डिजायर बिफोर बर्थ एंड जो हम यहाँ पैदा होने के बाद जो डिजायर अब अंदर
वो जो उन इंप्रेशंस के थ्रू जो डिजायर्स आते हैं, दोज आर बेसिकली दोज आर इंप्रेशंस ऑफ द माइंड दैट द माइंड कैरीज। लेकिन उनको भी प्यूरिफाई किया जा सकता है, ऐसा नहीं कि वो प्यूरिफाई नहीं किया जा सकता थ्रू द इंटेलिजेंस। that connection is so strong, it's hard to, that's why it's easy to understand theoretically also कि I am not this body but I am the soul, but it is very hard to distinguish that I am not this mind, I am not this intelligence, the soul and intelligence। और क्योंकि इसका फंक्शन जो है वो काफी सिमिलर है, soul knowledgeable, intelligence discrimination, right, but they are still different, there is still some differences there।
और सोल का डिजायर कहाँ से आया, मतलब वो उसके प्रीवियस जन्म से आया कि
नहीं, दैट्स द इटर्नल नेचर, दैट्स द इटर्नल सी सच्चिदानंद, जो सच्चिदानंद स्वरूप जो है, ठीक है, सोल, विद दैट कंस्टिट्यूशन इवन आत्मा एंड परमात्मा दे आर सेम इन कंस्टिट्यूशन। इवन परमात्मा जिसको हम बोलते हैं, दैट इज ऑल्सो सच्चिदानंद एंड वी आर, आत्मा इज ऑल्सो सच्चिदानंद। तो वो इटर्नली उनके अंदर इट इज like desire, having a desire is the soul's eternal nature, कि वो उसके पास desires होंगे। Now the only thing is that the, अगर हम उसको broadly categorize करें तो there are only two desires that the soul has, broadly categorized, and those two desires are to be with God or to not be with God, to be with Paramatma or to not be with Paramatma।
ओके, जिनका जन्म हो रहा है they don't want to be with Paramatma,
they are here because they didn't at some point they didn't wanted to be with Paramatma. Now when they come here they can again, after going through so many lifetimes frustration, their desire can they can realize, oh, this was not the right desire to have, and once they come back to the realization, then they start acting in a way that they start their journey back.
और ये जर्नी पे भगवान ही भेज रहे हैं.
इस जर्नी पे भगवान ही भेज रहे हैं. हाँ, इट्स लाइक, सी, मटेरियल वर्ल्ड कैन बी कंपेयर्ड टू, we can compare it to analogically 2-3 things. Either we can compare it to a hospital. अगर कोई बीमार हो तो उसे हॉस्पिटल में भेजना पड़ता है. But the purpose of sending it to the hospital is not कि वहीं पे रहे वो. The purpose is to get remediated and come out. Or you can consider it to a school also, where a kid is sent to grow, to learn something. Once you learn your lesson, you come out of the school. The goal is not to be in that, keep failing and be in the school always. Or third analogy is given as this material world is like a jail. तो अगर तुम कुछ क्रिमिनल एक्टिविटी करते हो, तुम्हारे डिजायर्स ठीक नहीं है, you are not fit for the other population, you are not the right fit, so you go to jail. Once you are, remediated, revived, then you come out. The purpose is not to stay there. So the crux is, once you know that you are soul, you are eternal, then what are we doing here? हमारा डे टू डे रूटीन के अंदर, are we doing something that is taking us back? Are we purifying our desires? Are we strengthening our intelligence so that we don't keep falling into this trap of garbage in, garbage out? How are we using the material facility that has been given to us to get out? So just food for thought कि हम लोग केज पॉलिशिंग कर रहे हैं या बर्ड को कुछ खिला भी रहे हैं. We'll see what is the food for the bird in the coming sessions, but think about it. ठीक है, with this thought we'll end today's session.
धन्यवाद.
Hare Krishna. Any questions?
Hare Krishna.
Anything that you learned new today, or because many of these things we know already, but it goes back of the mind. This is just to resurface it.
एक प्रभु जी, एक एनालॉजी आ रही है निकल के, जैसे आपने बताया जो सोल के एट्रीब्यूट्स है. सो लाइक हमने 3 लेयर्स डिस्कस करी. जो प्योरेस्ट फॉर्म है, दैट इज सच्चिदानंद. देन द सटल लेयर, दैट इज इंटेलिजेंस and false ego, and then the stool things, right? The chemical composition. So like जब एक बच्चा पैदा होता है, तो जो उसके attributes है, that is the nearest, the purest form of soul, which is it's always happy, in a bliss, always smiling. And then the knowledgeable part, the chit part, is also like they're curious. The kids are always curious. तो पर जैसे जैसे वो ग्रो होता है, तो उसके अंदर false ego, intelligence, mind, and then the bodily compositions also that starts developing. So we can say कि वो तीनों layers, basically जो purest form of जो layer है, that is when he or she is born.
Yeah, kids are innocent, इसीलिए बोलते हैं ना, kids are innocent. I was born innocent, education ruined me. ऐसा कहावत भी आता है.
Right.
तो बेसिकली अभी क्या होता है कि बचपन में, इफ यू यूज दिस, पतंजलि योगा सिस्टम के अंदर बताते हैं कि देयर आर सेवरल फैकल्टीज दैट डेवलप ओवर पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. तो बचपन में वो फुल्ली डेवलप नहीं होते, जैसे जैसे डेवलप होते हैं, क्योंकि जैसे बोलते हैं, एक होता है क्या बोलते हैं उसको, अन्नमय कोश. देयर आर दीज डिफरेंट कोश. ठीक है, तो बचपन में इनफैक्ट इट्स कॉल्ड अन्नमय कोश ग्रो होता है खाली सबसे पहले, जब व्हेन द किड इज लाइक अ वेरी बेबी एंड टॉडलर। ठीक है, उसके बाद धीरे धीरे मनोमय कोश और फिर ज्ञानमय कोश और फिर आनंदमय कोश ये डेवलप होते हैं। तो बच्चों को देखोगे, दे वांट टू एक्सपीरियंस एवरीथिंग बाय ईटिंग। काफी ग्रॉस लेवल पे होता है वैसे वो देखा जाए तो, क्योंकि उनका भी फैकल्टी डेवलप नहीं हुआ। मनोमय कोश, उनका कोई मन नहीं करता कोई चीज करने का। दे आर कैरिड बाय द इंस्टिंक्ट एंड द बेसिक इंस्टिंक्ट इज ईटिंग। तो वो उनको कोई भी चीज दो, वो मुंह में डाल के दे ट्राई टू एक्सपीरियंस इट विद दैट ग्रॉस सेंसेस।
ओके।
तो
मेरे
कहने
को
का ये मतलब है कि ऑल्दो दे आर इनोसेंट, लेकिन उनके अंदर वो फैसिलिटी अभी डेवलप नहीं हुई जिसके जिसके थ्रू वो स्पिरिचुअली एडवांस हो सके या अपने कवरिंग्स को हटा सके।
But the fact is that kids are always happy.
Kids are always happy. They suffer also, but yeah, mostly by default they get happy with very कोई उनके सामने हंसता है तो वो उसी को देख के कॉपी करके हंसने लगते हैं। तो they are very simple, we can say.
I have a point on this. Possibly kids are happy because they are not in the rat race at that point of time.
Yeah.
हाँ, the moment they are in
देखो,
the rat race and they think things from a relative purpose, तो फिर वो happiness becomes a challenge.
चला जाता है वो। जैसे जैसे उनका मनोमय और ज्ञानमय कोश डेवलप होता है, वो गलत डायरेक्शन के अंदर डेवलप होता है तो और ज्यादा सफर करता है। उससे बेटर वही पोजीशन होती है। अगर वो सही डायरेक्शन में डेवलप करता है तो दे विल एक्सपीरियंस दैट सेम इनोसेंस लेटर आल्सो।
और कुछ तकलीफें शायद बोल नहीं पाते होंगे, वो एक्सप्रेस नहीं कर पाते होंगे, ये भी हो सकता है होगा।
या
अनुभूति करने की शक्ति नहीं होना भी अपने आप में एक अच्छी बात है, कि ज्यादा अनुभूति करना भी प्रॉब्लम है।
ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, it is like negating a very demonic force in your office. Just negate the person. Don't take up his phone, don't take up his message, don't reply to his mail, or block him.
Yeah.
My
Jokes
key
apart.
takeaway today, I think, is I think I'm trying to differentiate between mind, intelligence, and knowledge.
This is very hard. Yeah.
यहाँ पे नॉलेज मतलब चित, जो सोल का पार्ट है, और माइंड हो गया जो मेरा अनुभव है, एक्सपीरियंसेस। अब हम देखते हैं कि हर आदमी एक ही सिचुएशन में, सेम एक्सपीरियंस में, उनका चित अलग अलग है। मतलब एक ही एक्सपीरियंस है। अभी अब बताते हैं, जैसे एक ही घर पे पैदा हुए दो बच्चे और सबका संस्कार सेम है, सब कुछ है, लेकिन उनके चित्त में अलग अलग चीजें जा रही हैं। वो दे बिकम डिफरेंट पीपल इवेंचुअली,
डिफरेंट पर्सनालिटीज। या
ये प्रूव करता है कि सोल एग्जिस्ट है, एग्जिस्टेंस ऑफ सोल। और इंटेलिजेंस जो हो गया, वो एक सही गलत एक रूल है जो दोनों को पता है। लेकिन एक चित है जो उनको उन एक्सपीरियंसेस का मतलब जो है, मतलब उनके रियल वर्ल्ड लाइफ में उनका जो रिक्वायरमेंट है, उनका जो डिजायर है सोल का, उसके बेसिस पे वो जो समझ है, वो चित है जो सिर्फ सोल का है। एक्सपीरियंसेस को, हाउ आई टेक द एक्सपीरियंसेस इज चित। उसको मैं सही भी ले सकता हूँ, उनको गलत भी ले सकता हूँ।
Correct.
I have a point here. If I treat soul as a guiding force, and in my overall learning path for my life, if soul is my guiding force, and if I don't know whether soul जो लोगों को मिलता है वो similar होता है in terms of its strength, or soul evolves over a period of time. Because every person comes out different. लोग कहते हैं ना हर इंसान different होता है. Is it because of different souls? Differentiation in souls. Who are guiding them?
Every soul has the same potential. Equal. ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई सोल स्ट्रॉन्ग या कोई सोल वीक होता है. All of them are equal. But because of their desires, they will be given different environment, different facility to fulfill those desires. अब जैसे मान लो किसी का डिजायर है टू, व्हाट एग्जांपल शुड आई गिव, जैसे जो भी प्रतीक बोल रहा था ना, नॉलेज की बात कर रहा था, ठीक है। तो अगर एक इनहेरेंट डिजायर है, आई वांट टू नो द एब्सोल्यूट ट्रुथ, ठीक है, तो दिस इज द नॉलेज सीकिंग attribute, and once the soul gets this desire, and this can be influenced by intelligence also या your surroundings also, कि आपके अंदर ये डिजायर जो है ये फ्रक्टिफाई हो, ये एक सीड की तरह फ्रक्टिफाई हो, एक बार आया, लेकिन वंस दैट when the soul is awakened to that desire, then the facilities are given कि आप वो नॉलेज acquire करो। उसके बाद भी अगर आपकी इंटेलिजेंस ज्यादा स्ट्रांग नहीं है, उसको कैच नहीं, सिग्नल्स को कैच नहीं कर पा रही है, तो यू मे गो इन टू डिफरेंट डायरेक्शंस। लेकिन जब हम जिसको बोलते हैं ना कि कोई स्ट्रांग हेडेड है या कोई स्ट्रांग पर्सनैलिटी है, दैट डजंट मीन कि उसका स्ट्रांग सोल जो है वो स्ट्रांग है। उनका इंटेलिजेंस काफी स्ट्रांग हो सकता है, उनका डिटर्मिनेशन या माइंड, मन जो है वो काफी दृढ़ हो सकता है कि हाँ वो संकल्प करके, कोई संकल्प करके उसके ऊपर दृढ़ रह पाता है। तो ऐसा नहीं है कि उसका सोल जो है वो ज्यादा स्ट्रांग है, उसका दीज फैसिलिटीज को उन्होंने ऐसा खुद को ट्रेन ऐसा किया है कि दे कैन एक्ट इन अ पर्टिकुलर वे better, they can interact in a better way, but we can't say that that soul is stronger than the other soul by or no nature, all the souls, even हम लोग तो मान लो मनुष्य हैं, इवन एनिमल्स का या ट्रीज का भी सोल का कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन एकदम सेम है।
No, so I agree. Then the question is, if all of us are blessed with the same soul, and is it the ecosystem in which we are growing determining our overall learning or growth or trajectory? Because there has
it's
to be
both
some
ways,
inherent force
yeah,
which
it's
drives
both
it.
ways। ऐसा नहीं है कि जिस सर्कमस्टेंसेस में आप ग्रो कर रहे हो वो इन्फ्लुएंस करती है, it's the other way actually, based on what your desire was, you're given a certain environment, certain facility, so that you can fulfill that desire। so जैसे अगर मान लो, जैसे हमने एक बात मैंने बोली थी कि सोल का जो डिजायरिंग का फंक्शन है, उसमें भी अगर दो ब्रॉड कैटेगरीज है कि इट वांट टू बी विद द लॉर्ड और नॉट बी विद द लॉर्ड, ठीक है। सो इवन इफ इट डू नॉट वांट टू बी विद द लॉर्ड, it has to be facilitated by the Lord only. So the Lord will give his forgetfulness कि तुम मुझे भूल जाओ, only then you will be able to fulfill your desires, otherwise you will not be able to fulfill the desires। तो अगर मान लो जिस एनवायरनमेंट में वो कोई अगर एक कोई पर्सन एक पर्टिकुलर एनवायरनमेंट में है, सो इट इज बेस्ड ऑन हिज डिजायर, ऑन हिज कर्मा, एंड देर आर फ्यू अदर पैरामीटर्स के जैसे डिजायरिंग और डिजर्विंग होता है ना। तो based on your desiring and deserving, you get a particular environment, but from that particular environment, while you are there, you can still grow into what your next journey will be। You can purify your desire or degrade it also, सेम एनवायरनमेंट में। इसीलिए दोनों चीज एप्लीकेबल है कि आपको एक एनवायरनमेंट मिला बिकॉज ऑफ योर डिजायर एंड योर कर्मा, एंड वंस यू आर इन दैट सिचुएशन यू कैन स्टिल बिल्ड अपॉन द नेक्स्ट फेज ऑफ योर जर्नी। इट कुड बी डिग्रेडिंग ऑल्सो, इट कुड बी अपलिफ्टिंग ऑल्सो।
आई थिंक कर्मा थ्योरी से काफी क्लैरिटी इसमें आएगी इन चीजों की।
कर्मा थ्योरी अभी इट्स अनदर वेरी कॉम्प्लेक्स टॉपिक, जो देखेंगे, हम ट्राई करेंगे जितना उसमें जा सकते हैं, बट या विल ट्राई।
I mean, knowledge is something we always associated with brain, but it is not.
Yeah.
And I think I agree. अगर समझ में आया है नहीं आया पता नहीं, लेकिन I think I understood.
Yeah.
I also agree. I have actually seen many people who possibly had better brains over a period of time have deteriorated in terms
देखो
of their intellectual thinking. And
एक
some people who are novices are actually growth. So possibly it's a matter of evolution in the ecosystem. That's my take.
There is one more thing I'm recalling, but it's too late. I'll hold it for the next time. That's also very
Okay.
important. Yeah.
गुड। शुभ रात्रि सबको।
सबको शुभ रात्रि।
एंड
एंड
आपके यहाँ पे शुभ रात्रि नहीं, हमारे यहाँ पे
Good morning.
good morning. We have a very nice session coming up in another half an hour, so I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
हमारे कोई एक गेस्ट स्पीकर आ रहे हैं. It's very knowledgeable
अच्छा,
in Shastra, and yeah, he'll be speaking. So
प्लीज relish it.
yeah, definitely. हमको अभी एक्चुअली थोड़ी देर मतलब कल एक इनसाइट भी मिला उसका. वो he was saying that he was talking on the same topic, and people who were listening, they were giving the feedback that it was so sweet and nectarian. Now today it is going to be more sweeter and more nectarian. So okay.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.